Hello, class. All right, we got a lot of this house done. We still have a few details to work on. In this one, I'm going to do the porch, which shouldn't be too bad. We'll need to make a few layers, do a little bit, but it's mainly just looking at the drawing. Of course, I have, if you've been watching these, I have our drawing of our house right over here. And I actually did, if you remember in an earlier video, I actually already had some of the porch defined. I actually deleted it for this video just so we can go over it in case you don't have anything shown for that. One thing we can notice is the edge of this porch is aligned with this exterior wall, so it makes it nice and easy. So to draw the overall porch, which is going to be this edge, we just have to come down from this line, and we have to come out from the front of the house. Zoom in a little bit on this PDF so I can see it 6 feet. And we'll have to go over from this side 6 feet. So we'll need to do that edge. Now the first thing to note is that we'll need a layer to draw on, and it's not in your template. So there's going to be a few layers you probably have to pull from. So if you remember from an earlier video, I showed you how to get to the layer list. And to do that, we're going to call this floor level, a floor level, which will be green and 0.255 millimeters. So changes in floor. So you can imagine the ground is down below, you change the floor is up, right? That's what a porch is, a change in level. So that's why we're using that layer here. So I will start by making that layer by hitting the Layers tab, hitting the New Layer button, going A dash floor, F-L-O-R, dash level, L-E-V-L. I'll make it green. Again, that green down there, and I'll make it 0.25 millimeters and say OK. And of course, I'll just click right over here on this button, double click to check it off and make it my current layer. So if you remember, you can always look at your sheet if you don't remember those dimensions, but I believe we come down straight from this wall down here. We come over 6 feet, so I'm just going to do an offset of 6 feet. There's multiple ways of doing this, but I'll do it that way. Offset 6 feet that way, and I'll offset 6 feet this way to define the other edges. Then I'm going to fillet these together. Fillet U to the fillet U. I'm going to start fillet again and fillet this corner to this corner. And while green and cyan are very close in color, they are not the same, and they're not the same layer. So I will end with a match properties by selecting on the layer I want everything to be, and then selecting on these two guys so that my porch lines become green and like that. Okay, and now and the next thing that I'm going to do is I think I'll do the posts. Oops, I maximize that. That's okay. See, the posts are here. We can see this little note here. They're 4 inches from the edge, so 4 inches up and 4 inches over. And let's see if we can figure out these little set of stairs. So we know that's 4 inches. And the location of these guys, I can't see because my PDF thing is in the way. Can't see those dimensions there. So let me just minimize this back here. Okay, we know the whole opening is... come on, PDF. Just get away. Cycle down. You can see it. Well, Adobe, if you're watching, I don't want that up there. Please get rid of that for me. Now I can click over here and drag it over. Sorry about all that. To figure that out, just to look, I'm trying to get all the dimensions and looking down here. So we know they're 8 feet wide. I guess, you know what, I'm gonna, I don't know. Are these all equal? It doesn't really say on here. But if I just said that these are in 4 spots, will that leave me with an 8-foot opening? I just don't know. So that is a good question. And you know, when you're an architect, you have to figure out all the dimensions anyway. Usually that you don't even have this many. So stopping and thinking about it is quite all right. I think I'll give that a try. You know, I'm going to set the end 2 points, and then I'm going to just divide it by 4 and see what happens. And if that doesn't match, it might be okay, it might not be. So that's all right. Oh, the other thing I should point out on this is that the posts are noted right here, 6 by 6 typical, which of course is 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches in the real world, so that's what we'll draw it as. And actually, those posts we cut through. So even though they're posts, I'm actually going to use the wall layer for those because they're going to be the same line weight as the wall. That you get cut nice thick line weight. So I'll start there. So I'm going to start by drawing a polyline. That's 5.5, 5.5, enter, by 5.5, enter, and 5.5, enter, and over and enter. And I'm going to offset this 4 inches because I know it's inset 4 inches. So just to make guidelines for myself, go to offset 4, enter, select this, and select that. And where these 2 points cross right there is where that corner of that post should sit. So I'm going to move this guy from this base point, this bottom left base point, to where those 2 lines cross. And now these guidelines are no longer needed, so I can select them and hit erase. And I know I want one on the other side, so I'm going to mirror it. You could do the same steps as I just did, but I can hit mirror, left to right just to select that post, find the midpoint of the porch, mirror straight down. And now, just like in the windows, to divide evenly, actually there is these. At 4 I can do midpoints pretty easily and just in steps. So if I draw a line here to here, I can hit enter, and then I can copy any one left or right. I'm going to select that, hit enter, and I'm going to select the midpoint of the post right there. See the midpoint, and I'm going to find the midpoint of this line and pull it up so I get it right on the center point of that. And then I can do the same thing. I can actually erase this guideline. I'm going to do it again on the small scale. So let me start to type in a command there, hit the line button, draw from post to post, copy, hit enter, and find the midpoint of that post, find the midpoint of this line, and pull up to get that green line so I can set it in place. And I'll erase that guideline. Now again, I could do the same thing to find the last post, which is going to be right here, or I can use mirror since it's symmetrical. So I'll go to mirror, select just this guide post, hit enter, find the midpoint of the whole porch, pull down to get the last post. Now the question is, what is the distance here? So I'm going to run the distance command. DI is what I'm typing, and it is 7'7" and 5/8, which means these posts are not evenly spaced. If I were to believe the drawing that they're really 8 foot apart. So I think I'm going to cheat to make them 8 feet since that's what it says. I mean, it's not really cheating. I suppose the center point is the right location. That's what I'm going to assume. So I'll draw this to find the midpoint of those 2 lines. Center of those 2 lines. Okay. And so I'm going to draw a line down from the middle this way, another guideline. And I'm going to offset 4 feet, which is half of 8. So here and here. And I'm going to move this column over to that edge, and this column over to this edge. Now, the result is that these 2 shrunk. Now this one I'm not going to worry about, but this one's no longer centered, and it probably should still be centered between those 2 points, so I'm going to adjust this column. And again, drawing in AutoCAD, real drawing is this. There's never have I made a drawing that I get perfect every single line the first time. In fact, this set of videos I get much more perfect because all the dimensions are clearly in front of me. Again, usually that's not the case when you're drawing. So I'll hit enter that middle column, and I'll find the midpoint of that column right there, and I'm going to find the midpoint of this new line, which is ever so slightly different, so I'm going to have to zoom in tight, pull up straight to find the alignment, and click, and now that one's recentered. And so now the spacing of this to here is equal. This is the 8 feet as required by the drawing, and then this is something smaller. And that's, I think, the best we're going to have to do. Of course, we have columns going up each side. Now it looks like by the drawing that the column edge aligns with the edge of the house on each side. So we're going to do that. Definitely does not look even up the side. So I'm going to draw a guideline over this way and a guideline over this way. And I'm going to copy this post on this side, enter, hit enter, and I'm going to take the edge and pull it up to this line to get that location, and then I can erase this guideline that I have there. I'm going to do the same on this side. Copy this, hit enter, from the bottom of the column to that and hit enter, then erase that guideline. And then there's two posts at the ends, one up in here and one up in here, and they're touching, so that's going to be easy. I'll just copy this guy, copy, enter, and then from the upper end point I'll copy and then just do perpendicular snap to that wall and hit enter, and I'll do the same for this guy, copy that post and then point at the top up to a perpendicular snap, hit enter. Now the one difference is there's one in between these points. Since there's no dimensions, I'm gonna assume it's a halfway point, so I'm gonna draw a guideline from post to post or column to column. Copy either bottom or top of that column, doesn't matter. Copy from the midpoint of whatever one you selected to the midpoint of this guideline to slightly pull out to get it aligned just like that, and hit erase, and there we go. We got all the columns. I notice there's little X's on the drawing we're giving you, but I say don't worry about those little X's. We're going to be fine there. Now we need handrails in between this, and we're going to need a new layer for those handrails. So we look here, we see handrails, the one above it, A floor handrail, red, 0.9 millimeters. So we'll make that layer real quick. Hit the layer button, new layer, A dash FLOR dash HRAL. I'm going to make it red, and we're going to make it 0.9. And we're going to make it our current layer. And close that down. So I'm on my handrail layer now. And then we're going to put handrails in between each of these posts except for the one at the stairs. And they're basically centered on the columns. They're 2 inches wide. So I'm going to start by drawing a line down the middle. And I can do this between every column except for the one that's going to have the stairs. So I'm just going to draw a line in between all these posts, midpoint to midpoint, so the handrail becomes centered. That's the one for the stairs, so I'll skip that one. Up this side. Up here, and then the handrail is going to be, we'll say 2 inches wide, so we just have to offset this line 1 inch on each side to get the 2 inch thickness, and we'll come in and erase this guideline at the end. So we'll offset 2, enter, and we got to sorry, that's wrong. Oops, offset 1, enter, 1 inch on each side. So 1 inch there, you might have to zoom in to really see it, and 1 inch there, so you can make sure the whole unit's still centered. 1 inch, 1 inch, zoom out, zoom back in. I'm just using my scroll wheel on my mouse to zoom out and then zoom right back in on the next segment. You know, you'll get over time with practice, you'll become familiar and get these controls down really easily. So I of course have been doing this for a couple decades or more. I don't even remember, far too long. So on each side. Okay, once I've done all the offsetting, I'll hit enter to end the offset, and then I'm going to erase. I'm just going to select the midpoint of all these lines, the ones we don't need. They're original guidelines to find the center point. Boom, 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 boom. And then hit enter to actually erase them all. And then finally, I think for the porch, we just need to add the stairs. There's 2 stairs. We'll call them 10 inches again. It actually doesn't say how wide they are here in this drawing, so let me think about that for a sec. Probably 6 feet would be good based on the drawing, so centered on this opening, presumably. So I'm going to change my layer to my stair layer, A floor stair, and I'm going to select line, and I'm going to draw a guideline from this point to this point just to find the middle. And then I'm going to find the middle of the stairs downward, so I'm going to go for the midpoint of that and pull down and hit enter. I'm going to offset 3 feet, which is half of 6, of course, on each side. So offset that way and offset that way and hit enter. Now I don't need a couple of these guidelines, so I'm going to just erase them now. I'm going to erase that line and erase that line and hit enter. I'm going to offset 10 inches to get 2 treads. 1, 2. Of course, green and yellow may look similar, but they're not the same layer, so I'll have to clean up that. But beforehand, I'm going to do some trimming of all this to get it nice and clean. So I'm going to hit trim. I'm going to hit enter to make everything a trim line. Select that away, select that away, select that away, select that away, hit enter, and it'll match properties, select a yellow line, and then make those two green treads yellow, just like that. If that's pretty easy and we're getting used to it. If I went too fast, pause the video, watch it again, whatever you need to do. But there we go. That's the porch, and I think that completes the porch. So there's still 2 steps left, and I'll probably make them 2 videos, I'm thinking, which is adding the room names, because we do want room names so you know what they are. Adding a little bit of text is good, so the room names and setting up the title block will be the last video. So I'll see you back for those.